Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is it. The final 2026 club season preview that I've done with my good friend Sam. How are we, Sam?
Very well, man. Very well. Being that this is the last season preview that we've got to do for 2026, it means the footy is only just literally around the corner starting this weekend. So I'm in good spirits, mate, and looking forward to talking footy with you here tonight, bro.
Yes, so we've got the Canberrians, the Canberra Raiders are our last team for us to preview in this podcast series. Thank you so much for all the support that you guys have given us. But look, without further ado, let's get straight into it. So, not that. We're going to go to the 2025 review. So, look, the Raiders, like we touched on just in the last podcast with the Warriors, the Raiders were the other team, Sam, that went over to Vegas in a huge coup for Canberrians to see their team over in the limelight of Las Vegas. You know, I think you sort of spoke about it a little bit on the Cowboys podcast, but also, you know, for Canberra to get, you know, that big, you know, the shot, the bright lights on them, and to be rewarded to go over to Vegas, I think is massive for the Raiders. And I thought that they were absolutely outstanding in their opportunity that they got over there, and they absolutely put the sword to the New Zealand Warriors in that first game, Sam. 30 points to 8 in round one over in Vegas. They then came back and had, you know, that extra bit of time to regroup, and they were able to celebrate their victories over in Vegas with some inflatable. No, we won't go there. Anyway. We moved to round two, and they take down the Brisbane Broncos in great fashion, 32 points to 22, in a good scoring fixture and a big result for the Canberra Raiders. Look, they're a force at GIO, Sam. If you can walk away from GIO with a win against the Raiders, you're definitely doing something right. So, look, round three came along, and the Sea Eagles. What happened here, Sam? Round three, the Raiders, they've gone down 40 points to 12 here against Manly Sea Eagles in round three, and then round four as well. They've gone down to your Cowboys as well, 30 points to 10. So they've started the season 2 from 4, 50%. After such a high, you know, two really good victories against the Warriors and the Broncos, you know, teams that you would say that they would be excused of if they were to lose to these clubs. But then, you know, to then go and lose the games against Manly and the Cowboys, wowee, like, you know, that's a complete role reversal in regards to, you know, no disrespect to any of the teams here. I'm just on the eventual results for the 2025 season. You know, Manly and Cowboys, unfortunately, you know, didn't make the 8. But they've absolutely killed the Cowboys one wasn't really a thrashing, but the Manly one was, you know, the eventual minor premiers. So a bit of a hiccup here, Sam, at the back end of the first month of the season.
Yes, mate. Yes, no, I think just the travel to Vegas may have caught up with them. I believe that off the top of the dome that that game against Manly, they were just on the defensive the entire time. They were full of errors as well. And that one, just nothing went their way from memory. And then the game against the Cowboys, North Queensland were incredibly desperate. They were winless up until that point, and they had to hold on tight because the Raiders, they had an opportunity to snare it late, right at the death there. But I think it was a pass that was left begging by Xavier Savage that wasn't thrown. So they were in that game against Cowboys for a while, but Cowboys did eventually prevail, mate. But 2 from 2. I guess you do take that if you're told that, you know, sort of a few weeks out before the season kicks off proper.
And yeah, that's a good point that you mentioned, Sam, as well, with their travel. Like, you look at it, they haven't been able to settle in one place at all in this first month. They've gone from Vegas to Canberra to Sydney to Townsville. Like they have not been able to stay put in one place at all in
No.
this first month.
And man, I got to say that there have been people that came out of the woodworks towards the end of the home and away regular season and said that the Canberra Raiders had a soft draw. And opposition-wise, that might have been true in the second half of the season. But the amount of travel that the Canberra Raiders did, and the first bye they didn't get until halfway through the year as well. There's no soft draw in the NRL, man. And they beat Penrith later on. Sorry, we'll get to that. I'm jumping ahead here. But I thought the Raiders, in particularly to start the season, had a very, very difficult draw, man, as you'll go through it.
Yeah, but that's a good point that you raised, Sam. I think it's like, I think people that come from the woodwork, they probably you would deem them as casuals. They haven't really, looked into the draw and actually understood how much the travel that the Raiders actually had to do. Like I remember now this time last season in 2025, we were talking about it. And I know Ricky Stewart and the Raiders were not happy with exactly what we've been talking about, with the amount of travel that they were actually required to do. So we'll touch on the 2026 draw shortly and see if the NRL and the AI have helped them out a little bit in that regard come this season in 2026. But let's continue moving on, Sam. So they've gone 2 from 2, a bit of Richie Beno there, 2 from 2, and 2 for 22. And after that first 4 rounds, the Raiders with that 2-2 record are in 12th position. So a little bit behind the 8 ball, but it's only 1 win, Sam. Early season on, you can see like they're 2 points from second spot, basically. It's just a bit of for and against that's not in the Raiders' favor, considering that heavy defeat to the Manly Seagulls, Sam. But round 5 came along and they were able to get it right, Sam. They got it right against Cronulla. Why that they've that's a pretty good result down in Canberra. Cronulla showed that that they were in this contest, a bit of a eventual top 8 fixture, Sam. But look, the Raiders just a bit too classy there for the Cronulla Sharks, and they were able to get the win there. Round 6 came along and they said, Parramatta, we'll send you to Cancun. And that they did. 50 points to 12. They ended Parramatta's season in round 6, if it wasn't already ended already. I can't really remember. But regardless, an absolutely clinical performance from the Canberra Raiders, Sam, 50 points to 12. And hopefully, I can't remember the Raiders' whole season as a whole, but this might spring something, some results together for the Canberra Raiders in weeks to come. Round 7, they get the job done. Look, not convincing, but they get the job done. 30 points to 20.
No.
And look,
yeah, they had to come back, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Titans were up, I think, maybe 18 points to 6 at one stage. And no, the Raiders did very well to come back. I was at this game and it was impressive the way that they came back. It was all the Titans for about the first half an hour, and then the Raiders were able to unbelievably level things up, all going into half time. So, yeah, no, they had to come back from a deficit against the Titans in some searing conditions.
Yeah. But look, at the end of the day, like, honestly, all I go into games is in this competition is like, I just want to win. I don't care by how many points, whether it be 1 or 50. Obviously, 1 is a bit stressful for the blood pressure and the heart rate. But all you want to do in this competition is just win on a weekly basis. If, yes, they should be probably beating the Titans by more than 10, but, you got to give respect to the opposition on their day. And, the Titans made it difficult for the Raiders, but the Raiders, being a quality side that they are, were able to string it together and get the job done.
And they had to do it again the week later.
Yes. Back at home against the Finns, and the Finns were down in Canberra, 40 points to 28. So, like I said, Sam, that they've really, they were 2-2, 50%. They've gone all the way to Darwin after still not being at home for basically in round 6, they've gone all the way to Darwin. They've played at home twice, and they're just absolutely raking up the frequent flyer points, the Canberra Raiders, and then they go to the Gold Coast after Darwin, but then they get their third game at home against the Dolphins, and look, 40 points to 28, another really clinical performance in attack. They have look, their defense has been pretty good. Like, it hasn't been too bad this last, this 4-game win streak that they've won, that they've gone on from rounds 5 to 8. They've only conceded the most as 28 points. So not too bad. And now a team that has caused a lot of clubs that we've gone through a lot of issues, Sam, the Melbourne Storm. It didn't matter for the Raiders. They went down to Melbourne and they conquered the Melbourne Storm. Away
this
from
wasn't
home.
at Melbourne. It was at Magic Round, brother. We were there.
That's right.
Yes.
We were too. Oh,
Trent Liero special.
Oh, we won't touch on that one. Could hit a bit too close to home for you, Sam, but not for you specifically. But let's just say we were lucky that we stayed for the whole game, because it was one hell of a finish. And look, it actually turned out to be one of the better games of Magic Round. There was obviously the Saturday, Sam and I got drenched. It was not the best conditions. But Sunday there was a bit of weather around as well. But yeah, look, it was a flying finish, and yeah, Trent Liero, it was not his finest moment. But look, regardless, a great win for the Raiders. Pardon me in saying I thought it was at Suncorp. I hadn't in Melbourne, should I say? I hadn't scrolled all the way down, but still, Melbourne's record in Brisbane, Sam, is nothing to joke about. It's basically a home away from home. Basically, it's like the Warriors in Brisbane. There's a couple of teams that really do well when they come to Brisbane, and I think like the Warriors and the Storm are probably the two that come to mind as the best. But look, that is a huge win for the Raiders, 20 points to 18. Then, unfortunately, after their, what's that, 5-game win streak, 1, 2, 3, 5. Unfortunately, it came to an end in round 10. They got taken down by the Doggies at home, 32 points to 20. The Doggies came down, and they were too good on that day, Sam.
A Stephen Crichton special.
Yes. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure Critter had an absolute blinder in that game, Sam. Round 11 came, and they versed the Titans again, Sam. They got the Titans again, and this time, while they conceded basically nearly the same amount of points, they did score a lot more in this contest, so it was a bit more clinical from the Canberra Raiders. Round 12 came along. You can see like the amount of travel that the Raiders have done already, and they still haven't had relief.
Insane, man. It was such a hard start to the season, Dor.
Yeah, opposition as well as travel. Like travel is not good. I think they've played about 4 games, maybe 5 in Canberra through, where are we up to, 12 rounds of the season, so not even half. So look, round 12 came along, and they had to go over the ditch. And even with all this adversity, all this travel, they got the job done, 16 points to 10. Pardon me. And then round 13, they've won a close one against a strong side, Sam, the Sydney Roosters. 26 points to 24, another close fixture for the Canberra Raiders. The Raiders were involved in some thrilling games throughout the entirety of the whole 2025 season, which we might have not got there, or I've jumped the gun. I might have jumped the gun, or have I? What was the game that KO Weeks got the try in overtime?
Magic Round. That was the one that got them into Golden Point, and then it was Fogarty who slotted the penalty goal in Golden Point extra time.
Yes, that's right. Okay, I just remember that KO Weeks try, and it was unbelievable. Anyway, so they take care of the Roosters, and then they take care of the other Sydney rivals, South Sydney. 36 points to 12. So look, they finally get relief. Relief has come to Canberra. Round 15, a bye, a much needed bye for the Raiders, Sam,
wrong.
with all this travel and stringing together so many results as well, like very tolling. And you look at that. So they've gone, from where they were all the way. I think they were sitting in 10th spot after the first month, and then round 15 comes along just over midway through. They finally get that bye round, and they're sitting at 24 points, 2 behind the Bulldogs in second position.
Absolutely nobody predicted the Canberra Raiders to be doing that well before a ball was kicked off.
Not that well, no, not that well, no, 100%. There was no one that, I don't think, apart from if you were a Canberra Raiders supporter and maybe a slightly biased one, that you were, or maybe an overachieving Raiders fan that thought that they'd be in the top 4 midway through the whole season, and let alone what ends up happening as well. So look, they finally get that relief, Sam. They're sitting in second spot, 2 off the pace.
That game as well against South Sydney was one of the feel-good days of the year, in my opinion. It was just Papali'i's 300th game. He scored a double, scored a goal conversion as well. That was a really, really good day to be a Raiders fan, man.
100%. I just think it was a good day to be an NRL fan. Obviously, the only people that would be upset would be Rabbitohs fans, but yeah, I was close to, I get a bit emotional, and I was close to bloody crying. It was that, seeing Big Papa cross over for 2 tries and then kick the goal. We spoke about DCE and the Sydney Roosters podcast as, a Manly legend. Josh Papali is definitely an absolute dead set Raiders legend. He's played the most games now for the Raiders as well, was another milestone. Is that correct, or is he still behind Jared Croker?
I think that's it, isn't it? I think he did already play 300, but this was the game that got him past the all-time Raiders mark. Oh, gee whiz, maybe I should look that up, and you continue.
Yeah, okay. You do that. I was going to have a look then, but no, let's continue. So round 16, great story. Round 14 for the Raiders there. Anyway, round 16, West Tigers. The Raiders were not one of those teams that fell into the trap, Sam, of after a bye losing. They got the win. So they had their week off. They thoroughly enjoyed their week off, and they came back and were able to get the job done against the West Tigers. Did you want to say, have you got the intel?
Most capped.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So he's the most capped Raider. He's a dead set legend anyway. And I'm sure there was rumors he was leaving, like he wasn't going to be staying, but then there was a change of heart and he wanted to stay at the Raiders. So he's going to continue that. And wow, he's still going. Like, he played Origin in 2025. And yeah, he's just still killing it at his age. And he's still, you see him, he's still putting in the work as well. He's still as hungry as ever. So yeah, keep on pounding them out, Papa. We love watching you play, mate. Round 17 came along, Sam. The Raiders got, we're just a bit too classy there for Newcastle in this fixture. 22 points to 18 in the round 17 clash for them. Round 18 came along and they were able to account for the Dragons again, I believe. I think they versed the Dragons, or maybe they haven't. No, they have not versed the Dragons. So their first fixture against the Red V, they were able to take care of them. 28 points to 24. They then got a bit of more relief, Sam. So let's have a look at the completion of round 19. So we can see where they're sitting here at the end of round 15 in second position. We look at round 19 and they have gone to the top. Look, the Bulldogs, this is where if you haven't watched the Bulldogs podcast, make sure that you go ahead and watch that one. But yeah, the Bulldogs started to go a bit south like the Warriors around this time. So where the Raiders, they just grew another leg. They kept on moving up, Sam. So they enjoyed top of the ladder in round 19, Sam. Round 20, they then came back and got the Eels again, 40 points to 16. They weren't able to get 50 on them this time again, but they were able to get 40. Still a bloody good effort. And then you string that together with the round 21 performance of 44 points to 18. Look, the Raiders' attack at this point of the season was just flourishing. It was exciting. It was great to watch. As a fan, you'd put on the Raiders and you knew they were going to absolutely, play some exciting football. That us or people who were going to the ground or watching at home were going to have a really good time watching it. Unfortunately, though, they versed the Red V again. And this weather was awful in this game. It was Hurricane Katrina. It was blowing a gale and it was pissing down with rain, I'm pretty sure, as well.
It was.
And this was an upset, a big upset, considering, the Dragons had been very hot and cold, more cold than hot. But I think they just played the conditions better than the Canberra Raiders did. And it was a bit of a reality check after 2 really good weeks of scoring a lot of points that, not everything in this competition is going to go your way every week. And credit to the Dragons, they were able to account for the Raiders on this occasion.
It was the end to the 9-game losing streak. And I think if they won one more game, they either equaled or they broke the club record for most wins consecutively. So that brought an end. This loss to the Dragons and to a 9-game winning streak.
What a win streak. 9 in a row. That's bloody impressive stuff, Sam. Round 23. So the first round of Indigenous round, Sam. So, pardon me. 28 points to 12. The Raiders were able to account for Manly. Look, they lost that game that we just discussed in round 3, I think it was, against round 3 or round 4 against the Manly Sea Eagles. Let me have a look. Round 3, yeah, 40 to 12. They lost. They were able to get revenge here, Sam, with at home in the first week of Indigenous round. They won 28 points to 12. Unfortunately for the Raiders, they didn't get a second Indigenous round game. So they had the bye, their third and final bye. So if we're looking at this round 24, the standings, it would be pretty nice, I think, for a Raiders fan. Yeah, still 2 ahead of the Melbourne Storm, who just somehow kept on getting wins, even though they weren't convincing. But the Raiders on top with 40 points. The pack is still chasing, Sam. Round 25. The Raiders, Sam, flawless the week after. They loved their weeks off, Sam. They deserved them, and they loved them because they went 3 from 3 after bye rounds in season 2025. They took care of the Panthers out at Mudgee. No, this was the game that I'm talking about. Yes, KO Weeks. This is the game I was talking about.
Well, he had 2 golden point moments, didn't he, anyway?
Well, the other one was, I think the one at Suncorp was the 77th minute, but it was still a long try nonetheless. And this one, I remember, I think it was like a kick or something went through and he just grabbed it and just weaved his way through and went the length of the field. It was
Cleary that shot for a field goal, popped off the post. Jed Stewart was there. Passed it out to Strange, and then Strange broke free, passed it back on the inside to Weeks, and thus created the try of the year and arguably, don't friggin' attack me, Dor, but arguably the best moment of the season. But Dor's got a double-barrel shotgun in his back pocket waiting for me. But yes, one of the best moments.
It was definitely one. It was like of the regular season, Sam. It was outstanding.
Yeah,
like I still watch it. It was an outstanding moment. I was like, oh, I couldn't believe it. Like you think about it, the field goal goes up, oh, it hit the post, and then next minute you're still recovering from the field goal hitting the post, and then next minute the Raiders are away, like you said, Stewart to Strange, and Strange is away, pops it into Weeks, and Weeks goes all the way. Oh, it was a special result. That game. And yes, like I said, that kept them the flawless record after the bye weeks. Round 26 came along, Sam, and it was a 24-10 victory over the West Tigers. And this game here was the one that secured the Raiders the minor premiership due to, as I said, the faultings or the, oh my God, we're not going to Vegas just yet. If we look here, so round 26, see, they're 4 points ahead at the completion. So even if the Storm were to beat the Broncos, it didn't matter. The Raiders were the 2025 minor premiers, Sam. And what a season. 19 wins, ended up being 5 losses. An absolutely incredible performance. Their for and against obviously got caned in this last game. They fielded a second to third string team when you and I went and watched this game. And yeah, the Dolphins were obviously wanting to send out some players, Mark Nichols, the GOAT, out on a high. They fielded basically a full strength team. Herbie would have played that game, but it was already over. The Roosters beat the Rabbitohs, so the Dolphins couldn't make the 8. So they were just going out there playing for pride and to send these great players of our game out on a high. And look, the Raiders gave a few players some opportunity, which was really good to see. It could have been a hell of a lot worse than 62-24.
Bloody oath.
Unfortunately, again, Sam, you were just close, just short of the 70 points. But look, in all seriousness, though,
Dor, I don't mind. I agreed that he should have rested the likes of a Tarpany and a Papali'i. I agree.
But the result goes against history.
The curse.
And they've conceded that the curse was strong. The curse was so strong. And considering that they'd done so well, and then, it's not like the youngsters didn't do bad, but they did bad in the fact that unfortunately they conceded more than 50 points. I can only imagine Ricky Stewart, he would not have slept that night. He would have been, wrapped, as every coach would be, to give young kids a crack in their first grade jersey, to represent the Raiders that Sticky's so ever so proud about. But I don't know if this curse was why what happened in the finals happened. But
100%.
Yeah. It has to be because it was not good. The finals was not good. But when I say not good, it's just not good from for a Raiders fan perspective. That first game, before we go on that, Sam, any more comments or anything on the regular season for the Raiders, apart from an absolutely outstanding regular season, thoroughly deserving of minor premiers and the tag of the best team in the competition?
Yeah, they were the most entertaining team to watch of 2025. They were, as you say, outstanding. Jamal Fogarty's first half to the year, I thought, really laid the platform. In my opinion, Jamal Fogarty was the best halfback in the competition halfway through the year.
100%.
And he unfortunately went a little bit quiet in the second half. It's not like he didn't play a bad game or afterwards, but he just went a little bit off the boil. But then in saying that, Ethan Strange then took over that sort of momentum, and he did exceptionally well for the young man to play at 5'8". And that game against Panthers was also a bit of a turning point as well, because Xavier Savage busted his shoulder, and you just thought, oh, he could be a pretty underrated loss for the Canberra Raiders. And that was his season done for Xavier Savage in that Penrith Panthers game. And but for the Raiders to win some silverware for the first time in 30 years with that minor premiership, mate, it's an all-time. I really don't want to say that it was a bittersweet year, because it is such a bitter end to their campaign. But you can't help but it was such a sweet year. But then to have that bitter taste left in your mouth after the finals, mate, do you think it's too much to say it was a bittersweet year?
They got the minor premiership, and like we were just discussing through this, it's like they were we didn't. I didn't have them finishing minor premiers. Like I thought they were a chance of making the 8, but I didn't think that they were going to finish minor premiers. But at the same time, to be such a dominant season for the Raiders in the regular season, and then for the season to end the way it did, it's. I don't
want to say bittersweet, but far out, dude.
I've got to blame the loss, the curse. The curse cursed them. The curse did them no justice at all. So look, we go to the finals. Now, first week of the finals, this was one of the most stressful and greatest games of rugby league. I just forgot every other game before that had happened because it was, well, I didn't, because I can obviously remember some of those moments like the KO weeks in Mudgee, but this was an absolutely exceptional game. We discussed as well, Sam. So the Dolphins Raiders game was on the Sunday. Ricky Stewart spoke to the NRL to make sure that they had, at least a good turnaround. Because I think the Broncos played the Storm. If I correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was on the Thursday night. So they had a decent turnaround. And look, considering that the Raiders had been traveling everywhere, that they just asked if the NRL could put this game on the Sunday. In hindsight, excellent idea. And I've got, obviously Ricky Stewart doing that for his players is completely understandable. However, it backfired in the week after because they then had to play the Saturday night, not the Sunday. So, but you can't predict to what was going to happen. And we witnessed one of the most stressful games, even for me as a Broncos fan, and even for Raiders. If you're a Raiders fan, both teams thought they had the game won, more so the Raiders. There was, moments, that the players, that got lucky with what happened. I don't want to go into too much of all the farce and whatnot that happened, but there was definitely some favorable calls. Like Walsh was lucky not to be sin binned. The Hudson Young, you could argue was potentially wrongfully sin binned considering what had happened. But at the end of the day, look, the Raiders. This is a Raiders podcast, but I feel like you just look at the results. I'm not going to say anything because it's not right coming from me. But you look at the results and where they were sitting. They've gone into halftime 18 points to 12 up. They've scored the first 2 tries and got a conversion as well. So they're up 28 points to 12. The Broncos have lost Walsh and Carrigan to the sin bin. The Raiders did lose Hudson Young as well. Throughout that period, no one scored a point in that period that these players were off the field. However, I think that Walsh might have scored just before Carrigan came on to the field, or it could have been just after. I can't exactly remember, but I don't know.
They had done enough. They had done enough, and they kind of choked it.
Had they done enough?
Well, Reece Walsh said no. Reece Walsh said no.
What I'm trying to say, Sam, is for me, I don't know what you thought and what you Raiders fans think as well. I thought they put the cab in the rack. They just were playing. They thought, like you said, they had enough points that it was done, and they didn't play the football that they had been playing for the first 50, 60 minutes. The Broncos just got momentum, and they just couldn't stop them. They honestly could not stop the Broncos. The Broncos were at the same time the Raiders. Like that's the thing. This game was just unbelievable. Like both teams could have won. Then there was the field goal, and then there was just so many things that all happened and transpired throughout the game. As I said, I feel like honestly, I was absolutely stoked that the Broncos won the game, but I was absolutely devastated for the Raiders because this game went on for 93 minutes of the hardest contest that I'd ever seen. Ever seen, but in regards to the first week of the finals, to drub it out with so much controversy and all these things happening. Haas was playing injured. There was the sin bins. Everything was going on, and then for then Ben Hunt to kick that field goal. I said it after the first 10 minutes of or the 10 minutes had gone of extra time. I was like, whoever loses this game is at long odds and are going to struggle to win the next game. And man, I wish I went down. I wish I went down to that game, but man, oh man, it's heartbreaking for the Raiders, considering what happens the week after, and they were just absolutely spent. They were absolutely wrecked from that game. 93 minutes of hell, and they just had nothing. Cronulla were exceptional, but the Raiders, they just had nothing left in the tank. And what I said when it happened ended up happening. I still tipped the Raiders because I thought that, down in Canberra, they had a bit of a turnaround. Yes, it was only 6 days, but I was hopeful that the Raiders were able to do it because I don't actually mind the Raiders at all, but they were just spent. And it's just such a heartbreaking way to go out, considering, like we were discussing, Sam, for the whole regular season, for them to go out in straight sets after such a dominant regular season. It's just rough, but what can you do? It's the greatest game of all, and unfortunately for the Raiders, they just had no steam left. And I don't think it's not just the Raiders thing. I think all teams would have had no steam left after what happened in
absolutely
that first week.
Penrith and Melbourne as well, mate. No team could have backed up after a game like that. And that was the game of the year. It will go down as one of the great finals games, if not greatest games of rugby league in history. And, we've said hindsight a couple of times already tonight, but the winner of that Raiders-Broncos qualifier was effectively the grand final. I think if Raiders win this game, I think Raiders make the GF and really give the Melbourne Storm or whoever a real fair dinkum shake. And the Broncos would have hosted the Cronulla Sharks, and who knows what could have happened. We'll never know. But effectively, I think the premiership winner, it's a massive call, but I really do feel that the premiership winner was decided in that game. And I take nothing away from the Cronulla Sharks, who I thought were brilliant.
They were brilliant, yeah.
They were brilliant that night. And while the Raiders did score first, the Sharkies had to do a lot of defense. But the Sharkies were very, very good. And it was heartbreaking, mate. It was heartbreaking, mate, to see those Raiders boys and coaches and fans alike, man. It must have been such a tough off season, man.
So deflating considering such a good regular season. No, sorry, Sam, I wasn't trying to degrade the Sharks' performance at all. I was just saying, like, it was such a mountain that the Raiders had to climb just to get up for that game after what they experienced. And it was the game of season 2025, that Raiders Broncos game. But look, a season again of, I guess, some silverware for the people of Canberra, but again, like a question of, what could have been. They beat the Broncos in that. What could have happened? Like Sam alluded to, they would have ended up probably versing the Panthers at home. And it just what could have been. But considering where they were and whatnot, I don't know. It's hard to exactly grade how you think the 2025 season went. But look, I don't want to keep Raiders fans mulling about the
Yeah,
whole
yeah, definitely.
2025 season. Let's get to some more.
But
Oh,
what I will say is that it was the most famous Raiders season since at least the early 90s. It bolstered up their numbers in membership and in viewership, and apparently global recognition numbers went up for the Canberra Raiders. So the off-field stuff exploded because the style of footy that they were playing throughout 2025. So look, if I was a Raiders fan, I asked this question to you, Dor, as well, and I asked myself this: if I was a Raiders fan, knowing what I know now, would I still sign up again? Would I ride that ride again, basically? And for me,
200%.
I would. I
Yeah.
absolutely would ride that ride again because they were the best team to watch. They played some of the most brilliant, sparkling attacking footy at times, and then you had the rough and tumble nature of Papali'i and Tarpanay and so on and so forth. So, yeah, the Raiders they had their most famous year in 30 years, and it just makes them such a fascinating and exciting proposition for 2026, Dor.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful segue. The only thing I was going to add as well, like the legends were just in love with the Raiders, like, Mal Meninga and former Raiders fans they'd just go openly and speak how happy they were and like to see the success that was coming from the Raiders. It was just great to see for the people down in Canberra anyway. Let's move on. Let's segue beautifully into the 2026 losses and gains. So let's have a look at the players that have departed Canberra after that minor premiership in season 2025, Sam. So Adam Cook has gone to the Lee Leopards. Jamal Fogarty, probably the biggest loss on this list, has gone to the Manly Seagulls. Albert Hopewade has gone to the Warrington Wolves over in the Super League. Danny Levi has gone also over to the Super League to the Leeds Rhinos. Jordan Martin has headed up north to the Mackay Cutters, Sam. Trey Mooney has gone to Newcastle. Pasami Saulo has gone back to Newcastle. And Manira Watare has gone to the Melbourne Storm, Sam. So, look, if I'm looking through that list, there's a few men. Albert Hopewade played a little bit in season 2025 before he got injured. And probably really the only, like Danny Levi, yeah, but I think the only really other name is like Trey Mooney probably should have played more than he actually did, but is the Canberra forward pack. He barely got an opportunity at all. But the big ones, Jamal Fogarty, like Sam talked about it just before in our 2025 review, that Jamal Fogarty was outstanding for the Raiders throughout the first half of the season. Yes, he sort of took a bit of a backfoot step in the back end of the season, but look, he was thankfully his halves partner Ethan Strange was absolutely blossoming at that time, so he didn't really need to overplay his hand or do anything really special. He just needed to give Big Strangey the rock and let him do his thing. So yeah, for me, I don't really think that I need to worry about touching on anyone else. I think Trey Mooney is a bit of a loss, but he's a huge gain for Newcastle just because of the player. But at the same time, I don't know if he was ever going to make the Raiders 1-17 without injuries or something occurring, just as the strength of that Canberra Raiders forward pack. So for me, Sam, I think it's just a glaring one omission of Jamal Fogarty, and there's going to be a lot of pressure on either Kobe Black or Ethan Sanders this season to try and see if they can do the job that Jamal Fogarty did and keep this Raiders team in the finals.
100%, 100%. But I got nothing really else to add on to that. But I will say that Albert Hopewadi was underrated in my eyes. I
No,
really
yes, he
hope
was.
he kills it overseas, man. Because it
Yeah.
was his jersey, and
Yep.
it was just the emergence popping out of the ground, Savalio Tamale, that just he was the one of the best wingers in the competition before his unfortunate injuries. So Tamale pinched his spot. But yeah, no, all the best to Albert Hopewadi and all the losses there for the Canberra Raiders.
Yeah. No, that's right. Well, like the Albert Hopewade missed the Vegas game due to his missus giving birth, and then the Tamale, just like you said, just took the jersey, and like they were thankful that Albert Hopewade ended up getting injured not long after coming back. So then that sort of ended his season, and thankfully, like what we were alluding to before in that 2025 review, luckily when for the Raiders, that when Savage went down, Tamale came back. It was just that they didn't have Tamale and Savage, the first choice winger combination together for that run home due to what Savage had done. But yeah, Tamale was great, and I think just due to what those three players had done, Savage, Tamale, and Jed Stewart, he was good in his opportunities as well for the Raiders. I think Albert just was like, there's not really much room here. I want to be playing every week. So he decided to go over to the Super League. And as I agree with you wholeheartedly, Sam. I wish Albert Hopewade all the absolute best over in the Super League. But look, let's get on to some positives. We've been a bit of a downer podcast for about 45 minutes, unfortunately.
No, we're just telling it like it is. No downer, mate. All positive.
Thing. Yes, no. But look, the gains. So we've touched on a key loss here, Sam, with Jamal Fogarty leaving the club, and Mr. Kobe Black has come to the Canberra Raiders to provide some competition for this halfback jersey with one Ethan Sanders. We will talk about Kobe Black a bit more, Sam, but look, I think it's huge for the Raiders to get someone like Kobe Black down there, considering just is the loss of Jamal Fogarty. And a competition for spots is always good. It also provides some depth if something was to happen to either Sanders or Strange. I just believe that will be the partnership due to some issues with Kobe Black that we'll talk about in a second. But regardless, I think obviously, like me being a Broncos fan and Kobe Black coming from the Broncos down to the Raiders, I think it's happened just due to the lack of opportunity that Kobe Black got for the Broncos. And then with the signing of Pezzett coming to the Broncos, well, it was just like, okay, well, the Broncos are obviously not viewing me as, a first choice halves partner to partner Ezra Mam or whatnot. So I need to, put myself first and go and try and find a club that, needs a halfback. And, the Raiders need a halfback. Look, Ethan Sanders is probably going to get the first crack, but that's not to say that Kobe Black can't get this jersey and make this 7 jersey his for a very, very long time at the Green Machine. Sam, obviously a very talented junior. You went and saw him play up in the under 18s, 18s or under 20s?
19s.
Under 19, so in the middle. Under 19 State of Origin. So, yeah. Look, he hasn't really been put on the big stage as per yet. Like he's obviously played Q Cup, and we've seen some good performances from him in Host Plus Cup. But yeah, I think we're going to see Kobe Black at some point throughout this 2026 season. I think it's a great signing. I love competition for spots. So yeah, I really like this signing. You like this signing as well, Sam? Kobe Black?
Yeah, man. I mean, I've only ever seen Kobe Black perform for one game, mate. So he is unknown to me, but I have heard about this young man for the better part of 3 years now. So it is very, very exciting. Yeah, man, no, very exciting. And competition is good for spots.
I'm sure Raiders fans are hoping it's Tom Dearden 2.0 as a halves player that the Broncos have let go and really taken off. So I'm sure Raiders fans are really hoping that, and I wish Kobe Black all the best. Unfortunately, as soon as we signed Pezzett, I knew, and it was very well done from Black as well to get down there now, because originally he was not going down to the Raiders till 2027. So to get that release and get down to the Raiders and get stuck into work with the Raiders, and potentially, I think it's a smart decision, because if he does want the jersey, he doesn't want Ethan Sanders to just be there with no pressure at all. He wants to be right there doing performances, whether it be in New South Wales Cup and putting his name in there. So if the Raiders and Sanders aren't performing, that Kobe Black will be spearheaded straight into the team.
There's another reason why he did go down as well, not the primary one, but he's also great mates with Owen Paddy as well. So to think about the potential partnership that they could one day strike up, Paddy and Kobe Black, even though I don't know anything about Kobe Black really, that is one of the other reasons why he came down to link up with great mate Owen Paddy.
Yeah, who needs a Krabby Patty when you can have a Kobe Patty? Very much got Sam nicely there. That was a shocker. Anyway, Jaden Brayley. We're coming back to this one. Sione Fainu and Dane Laurie. Look, I think that they are these two. I think Dane Laurie is great. He's shown he can play anywhere in the back line. And look, if anything happens to Weeks or there's a downer in form for the Raiders, Mr. Laurie will be straight in. He is an absolute. He should be playing first grade every week. I'm a real big fan of Dane Laurie. Yes, he didn't have the greatest time at the West Tigers, but he's been outstanding in his 2 stints at Penrith, Sam. So I wish Laurie all the best, and I'm sure he's going to play some first grade this year. Sione Finau, he's only played like a few games of first grade, but he was impressive for the Dragons, I thought, in his games in the top grade. And look, with the departure of Albert Hopewade, Sam, I think it's great that and Mania Watare as well to get some back depth with Sione Finau and Dane Laurie. I think is awesome for the Raiders. Look, as per the signing of Dane Laurie, I question why he went to the Raiders. I'm not having a go at the Raiders. It's just like, it's such a weird one because like he's such a good player and should be playing every week. But I think it's just like, there's no real opportunity where he's going to go in and just get a starting jersey straight away. So, but look, regardless, he's going to be great in the long run for the Raiders, whether there's injuries or origin or stuff like that. He'll be able to fill in beautifully for the Green Machine. Jaden Brayley. I've left this to last because I do not freaking understand why the Canberra Raiders have signed Jaden Brayley. I know he will be a great influence and mentor for their hookers. But Tom Starling had an absolutely belter of a season in 2025. I know Tom Starling from 2023, 2024. Ricky Stewart barely gave the bloke a fair crack. He was always coming off the bench and was just like, oh man, like he always looks so good, but can he work his way to be an 80-minute hooker or, a hooker that can play, a lot of minutes, 50, 60 minutes plus. And we saw that in spades in season 2025. And then we saw the emergence of Owen Paddy, and he took the scene by storm. They've both extended, and then you go and sign Jaden Brayley. I honestly do not freaking get it. I honestly do not get it. Are you benching one of Paddy or Starling? Or like when I say benching, like leaving them out of the 20, or is Brayley just come down to be a Stewart? Like Brayley, to his credit, he was really good for Newcastle at the back end of the season. He actually was stringing together. He's had a horrible run of injuries, Jaden Brayley, but he strung together games consistently for Newcastle in 2025. And I don't know how this works out. You've got 3 like really decent hookers at the one club. I don't know. Like, I guess it's obviously a depth. If, one goes down, then you've got 2. I don't know. But, if they're all fit and firing, they're not all fitting in the team. So I don't know. I don't like this. I don't like this signing at all. Sorry, Sam. I just think the 2 hookers that they have there are very well established, very quality. It's not like, Roosters or whatever. Like, yeah, to what some extent, but obviously no disrespect to Jaden Brayley, but Cherry Evans has achieved and played a hell of a lot more than one Jaden Brayley. But that's nothing to take away from Jaden Brayley's credentials in his career, Sam. But it's just, I don't really get this signing, and I honestly, like, you know, I hope it turns out really good for the Raiders, but I absolutely bloody hate it. I don't like it at all.
Agreed. That also, I lump Dane Laurie into it as well. I don't get the Dane Laurie signing as well. He is first grade quality, and I don't see him breaking into this side unless if Origin comes around, or unless if someone in the back line is horribly out of form. Jaden Brayley, I can only imagine, and we're going to get to the train and trial list in a little bit, but there are one or two very impressive hookers down there at the Raiders that could in a few years' time be first graders, either at the Raiders or elsewhere. But there's no real, other than Tom Starling himself, there's no real leader as a hooker, or a hooker with great experience down there that's able to lead and teach these young men. So maybe that's why. And I said to you before, and I don't agree with what I'm about to say, but like the only other reason why you'd have Jaden Brayley there is maybe at a pinch he could play a lock role, but like he's too small, and I'm sure he'd put his heart and soul into it. But you got Big Friggin' Red and Morgan Smithies floating around as well. So no, it doesn't make sense. But Ricky Stewart has been able to make things that don't make sense eventually make sense over the past couple of seasons, and he's been able to prove people wrong, especially over the past 12 months or so. We shall see. But at this point in time, both Laurie and Brayley, for me, are signings that they're jigsaw pieces to a completely different jigsaw puzzle, bro, and doesn't fit for me, man. I really don't know how they fit, and maybe that we're going a little bit off our rocker a little bit. Maybe Ricky Stewart said, you're coming down to Canberra to not play first grade, but to be a mentor to the young people. And if that's what Brayley and Laurie want to do, then friggin' good on them. And I hope that they remain injury-free and that it's all positive vibes for the next couple of seasons while they're down there. But if there was a promise for them to be first graders in this Raiders team, I don't know where they fit, bro.
I ask you, Sam, if you're in Dane Laurie's shoes, where do you go? Because I just feel like he's just signed somewhere because he needs I honestly think he thinks that he's a chance to get into this Raiders team. I honestly do believe that he thinks that this is why he signed with Canberra. Obviously, not every team would have been interested in him, but I feel like he thinks that this is the team he can break into out of other teams. Like for me, I don't understand. Like for me, I can sort of understand Laurie going to the Raiders. I don't understand the Brayley one at all. The only play.
What's Laurie's best position? What do you think is his best position? It's fullback, do you reckon? You don't think 5'8" or wing?
No, fullback. Fullback's his best position. He was outstanding for the Panthers last season when he filled in there at fullback.
The only reason why he could be at fullback is if Weeks has got a case of the dropsies again, because that was KO Weeks' Achilles heel for at least the first half of the year, and he did end up rectifying things mostly in the second half of the season. He got absolutely raked against the coals inside the first 10 weeks of the comp, did KO Weeks. But look, it maybe it's a fail-safe plan from Ricky Stewart that if Weeksy doesn't start hot, maybe Weeksy sits down for a couple of weeks and Laurie just safeguards at the back there. But again, I don't know, man. Like he can play 5'8", he can play on the sting. So if Tamale's having second year syndrome and he's not going well, Laurie might come in, and I don't think Ethan Strange is going to take a step backwards. And you got to give and hey, you got to give Ethan Sanders and or Kobe Black the right proper amount of time, and not do a Todd Payton and rip Tom Duffy out of the system after only 2 contests. Now, Tom Duffy ain't playing behind Josh Papali'i and Joe Tarpany, unfortunately, but you got to give these young men the time of day before you start swapping and changing.
There's just no team that I can think of that needs a fullback, apart from maybe Cronulla.
That's what I was just about to say. Yeah.
that's the only team I can think of. So, like, if I'm in Dane Laurie's shoes, I can understand. I can understand what he's done. Look, regardless, let's hope it all works out. Sam and I have just vented a little bit. You guys might be in agreement with Sam and I on our thoughts on Jaden Brayley and Dane Laurie signings. But if you aren't, or if you are, let us know in the comments, and we can have a chat about it. But yeah, just a bit of confusing signings. Not saying then they're just like signings a bit hard to understand why the Raiders have gone about doing it. I don't say like they're not. I hope they're not horrible signings. They're good players. So I might have said horrible signings before, but what I meant was that it just doesn't really make sense as to why that they've signed these players. But look, let's get moving on, Sam. And speaking about Brayley and nurturing the next generation of young men, let's go to the Canberra Raiders train and trial / development list for the 2026 season, mate.
Alrighty. So the Canberra Raiders junior system in 2025 had a fantastic season, and in 2024 as well. The youth programs down there, the SG Ball, the Jersey Flag, the New South Wales Cup, they have been going gangbusters. All three grades made the top 5 at the very least in 2025. So Jersey Flag, SG Ball, and New South Wales Cup all played finals. Unfortunately, the Harold Matts boys did not play finals, but still, you'd take 3 of your reserve grade, feeder sort of teams for your franchise anyway. And there are 14 names here, and I will say that most of them around that SG Ball range. So I would I would say that a lot of these players are still about 2 or so seasons away. But let's start at the back. Apologies about pronunciations. I hope I get these right. Alrighty, so Ethan Alaia, he is a fullback that is signed until 2028. The next man, Sean Packer. We were talking about Jaden Brayley and some of the young hookers. This man is a hooker. He is from Queensland and played with the Wynnum Manly Seagulls before he came down to Canberra and started his Raiders career in 2023. Since he made his debut in New South Wales Cup, he has played 24 games and has amassed 481 tackles. He has only missed 12 tackles in that time and has a 96% tackle efficiency. He also captained the Jersey Flag team last season, or 2024, I should say, to the preliminary final. So Sean Packer has a bit about him at hooker, but he's a Queenslander, so obviously he's got something about him, doesn't he, Dor? Now we go into the Tuali'i brothers. We've got Mark and Luke Tuali'i, and they're both centers. Now, Mark Tuali'i, he went to Erindale College. For those who don't know, I was born in Canberra, grew up in Canberra, and I went to Erindale College. It's the best, or arguably the best footy college in Canberra. That's where I went to school, and this young man has graduated from Erindale College. It's a very, very good college for footy, and he has progressed through all grades. He has played Jersey Flag, he's played SG Ball, and he's played New South Wales Cup, all in the space of 2 years, and he's only just left college. So he's got some Milo about him, and so too does... Look, I actually don't know if they're actually brothers or they're just cousins. I don't know, but they've got the same last name here. So, and it sort of walked me out for a bit there. But anyway, I digress. Luke Tuali'i also plays centre. He played for the 2024 Australian Schoolboys, made his New South Wales Cup debut in 2025, and he only made the one game. He only played the one game. And in that one game in his New South Wales Cup debut, he ran for 194 meters and made 10 tackles. He missed a couple, but you can forgive him because he damn near made 200 running meters, this young Australian schoolboy. Now we've got Jays Tuigamala. He is a prop / lock. He started his footy journey at the South Sydney Rabbitohs, shifted to the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks, and now is playing and has been playing for the Canberra Raiders for the past few years. He was predominantly playing SG Ball in 2025, is yet to make his New South Wales Cup debut. Moving on to Malachi Smith, apologies there. He too is a hooker. from Newcastle. Have you heard this one before, Dor? A Newcastle junior left, has gone from Newcastle. Have you heard that one before? He made his New South Wales Cup debut last year, played 3 games, made 58 tackles in that time, and missed only 1 tackle in 3 games. So that's not too friggin' bad, is it? And that made up for a 98% tackle efficiency rate for Mr. Smith. Kane Anderson is the brother of Grant Anderson. So now we've got 2 Mr. Andersons floating around in first grade potentially, mate. So, he did make his first grade debut last year. He came off the bench in that game against the Dolphins in the final round of the regular season. The next man, Jalen Afamasunga. Haven't heard the last name Afamasunga in a long time. There was an old prop lock that used to play for the Sharkies, Jack Afamasunga, I think his name was. So I haven't heard that name in a long time. He plays 5'8", and he actually played in a preseason challenge last year against the Penrith Panthers. He guided the Jersey Flegg team to week 2 of the finals in 2025. And I saw some highlights of him. He's not afraid. He's got a small frame, but he's not afraid to get his shoulder stuck in defensively. Sprints out of the line, whether it be 10 meters out from the try line or right on halfway. He's a pretty mean defender, and he put in a couple of good kicks in that preseason challenge game. So he's obviously got some Milo about him because he's 5'8" that took his Jersey Flegg team to semi-final footy. The next man, Jordan Uta. Apologies about the spelling there. That's my bad. It's Jordan Uta. It's U2A, UTA, sorry. So Jordan Uta, he played for the under-19s New South Wales team up the Sunshine Coast earlier this season. And unfortunately, he was the poor bugger that went screaming in for a shoulder charge, and he got sent to the sin bin in that game. So Jordan Uta, that was his New South Wales State of Origin contest, but that's not all that happened for him in 2025, because in 2025 he took home the Canberra Raiders Junior Male Representative of the Year. So there's that's really good stuff there for Mr. Jordan Uta, and he's a young man that came from Parramatta. So he's been down there for a couple of years now, down in Canberra for a couple of years now after coming from the Parramatta junior system. The next man is a fella that was interviewed by Nesian Footy on ABC radio, and from reading it and listening to it, everybody's really excited about the prospects of this young man. He is a second rower and just came out of school last year. He played in 2024, actually, I should say. And Roman Tuimau, apologies about that. Tuimau. He plays second row. He was originally part of the Panthers junior system. He played Harold Matthews Cup for the Penrith Panthers back in 2023, then 24, then moved down to Canberra in 2025 and did well to play SG ball. So watch out for him. A lot of people are like the looks of Roman Tuimau. The next name is Saxon Innes, Innes. He is a fullback that was part of the Brisbane Broncos system, and he actually made his Queensland Cup debut for the eventual premiers, the Burleigh Bears. He only played 2 games at fullback, but he's got some nice talk about him. Cooper Johnston is a winger / fullback. He's playing SG ball and looks to be one of the electric faces of the Canberra Raiders SG ball team over the past year or so. The next name, it could benefit greatly under Jaden Brayley's guidance, is Mr. Mitch Brophy. He is a hooker, and he was selected in the New South Wales under-19 squad. The Raiders have already signed him up until 2028. He will be upgraded to a development contract in 2027, and then he will be part of the top 30 in 2028. So Mitch Brophy, I've heard this name for the past 12 or so months now myself, actually. So this young man is on an upward trajectory. And look, there's 3 hooking three hookers that are a part of this train and trial squad here. So there's a lot of depth there at hooker, and with Starling and Brayley there, they can learn well. But obviously, the man with the foot way out in front at the moment is Owen Paddy. Moving on to the last couple here. So we've got Sam Hine, another Queenslander, and he represented the state of origin under-19s earlier this season. And then finally, a fullback from Manly, Callum Dow. He's been signed from Manly, and he was the 2025 Manly Sea Eagles jersey flag players player. A lot of nice hype around Callum Dow too. So look, I think Dor, and I think everybody listening out there, that I think they can surmise that probably all of these players are about 2, possibly 3 years away from featuring in first grade, unless if Ricky Stewart wants to, have another Dolphins sort of game where everybody's rested and, you bring up the youth. But someone like a Jordan Uta and these hookers like Sean Packer and Malachi Smith, so on and so forth, are impressive. So, yeah, Canberra Raiders fans, it's obviously a talented young crop that you've got here, but so far as immediate future watchers, I'd really just be pumping the brakes there. If I had to pick absolutely anybody, I mean, Kane Anderson's already made his first grade debut, so he's already impressed Ricky Stewart, I guess. But yeah, I'd probably say that Jordan Uta is probably the closest to a first grade debut, but I wouldn't be holding my breath. But it's still a very talented young list, just a couple of years, if not a few years away.
Yep. Thank you so much, Sam. Yeah, no, very interesting. Mitch Brohy. I'm looking forward to watching this man come through the ranks, especially New South Wales under-19, signed until 2028, upgraded in 27, top 30 in 28. So if that's getting in there and you're getting into the top 30, there's got to be some hype about him. So I'm going to definitely be keeping my eye out for this young man as well. But yeah, Jordan Uta and a couple of other names there like Saxon Innes. Look, hopefully he can get a chance down there. But look, all these guys need to do, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Sam. I don't think that there's going to be many of these players that are going to get an opportunity unless there's, a bit of a resting and, giving the next generation a bit of a crack. But look, that doesn't mean that there's no chance of these young men getting in, like put in the work, and you never know what will happen. Ricky Stewart's shown many a time before, if someone puts in the work and impresses him, that he'll happily give them a jersey or a debut in first grade. So wish them all the best, and a pretty good list of young men coming through. Not the best that we've touched on, but a very good list nonetheless. And at least it's a list with a lot of depth as well, covering a lot of positions as well as a lot of players as well. So we wish all these young men all the best in season 2026. All right, let's get to the draw and let's see how it is, Raiders fans. Let's see if it's any better than season 2025. Well, the start of the draw is certainly not much better. It's a bit of an ugly start, I'm not going to lie. 6 of their opening 9 games are away from home. A terrific start, actually, from the NRLAI. It's absolutely kicking goals down in Canberra, not. But look, we'll continue. It is offset by 4 straight in the nation's capital, sandwiched around a bye. So there is you can see here, round 10, the Panthers. 11, they have the bye week for Magic Round, and then they've got round 12, Dolphins home, round 13, Cowboys at home, round 14, Roosters at home. Look, I'm not going to lie, that is massive. A whole month at home. Like, that is awesome. Like that, yes, it's a bit of a shit start, but that is really good to have a whole month of football at home. They don't have to travel anywhere, the Raiders, throughout that 4-week period. So look, I guess that's a bit of a blessing in disguise, and I guess they only see their finals nemesis, the Broncos, only once, which I think is a bit of a disappointment from the
It's
NRL.
awful. You know I hate it. It's
I
awful.
know.
The game of the year is a Friday 6 o'clock game. AI, yeah, right.
Yeah. So anyway, let's look at the teams that play twice. So they play the Panthers twice, the Storm, the Bulldogs, the Sharks, the Knights, the Rabbitohs, the Tigers, and the Cowboys. Panthers, Storm, Bulldogs, Sharks. It's an even split of teams that they from 2025 form that they play twice. So a pretty good bunch, I'd have to say. It's a lot better than 6-2 or 5-3. So 4-4 split, 50%. I think the Raiders will be happy with that one, Sam. The teams that they play once, the Broncos, like I alluded to before, the Manly Seagulls, the Warriors, the Roosters, the Eels, the Dragons, the Titans, and the Dolphins, Sam. They have their buys in round 11. Unfortunately, no magic round for the Green Machine this year. But that will change next year because everyone will be playing because there's even amount of teams. Round 18, a buy in round 18, and then their last buy is in round 26. So the second last round of the season, which makes me think unless they're like 4 points ahead or something like that, I think that they're going to play a pretty full strength team, unfortunately, Sam, against the Cowboys in that last game up in North Queensland. Look, I want you to have a look at do what you normally do, Sam, and let's look at the run home, which starts in round 20, mate. So feel free to take it away.
Alrighty, so for the final time, NRL teams, their run to the finals begins in round number 20, like it does for everybody else. And it starts with back-to-back home games on a Saturday afternoon. The first matchup is against South Sydney. Then they host the West Tigers. Still on Saturday for round number 22, they travel back to arguably their most famous moment of 2025, where they will take on the Penrith Panthers Saturday 5:30 at Glen Willow Oval in Mudgee. They're then back home, but this time on a Sunday afternoon, they will host the Newcastle Knights. Then on Saturday for round number 24, they're away to the Sharks at Ocean Protect Stadium. And then that game that I mentioned before, round 25, it should be a blockbuster, but fair dinkum, Friday, 6 p.m. Is disgusting. The NRL should have seen this fixture and made amends to it. This is awful fixturing, man. So then they have a bye in round number 26. And then, as you said, round number 27, they are away to the North Queensland Cowboys for a game on Super Saturday. So the teams that they take on, you've got South Sydney, Penrith, Cronulla, and Brisbane. That's half of that run to the home finals that are going to be very, very tricky if the Raiders have desires to get back into the top 8 in 2026. You could throw in our final round game against the North Queensland Cowboys, sort of like an old boys day for the Cowboys. So that they'll be, possibly if they don't make the top 8, the final time that they'll play a game of footy in 2026. So they'll give Raiders all sorts of curry there. It's not easy. It's not the hardest. I think I've said that maybe 3 times in a row on these podcasts, but they can nab some wins here. But I'm just so bitterly disappointed for Raiders and even Broncos fans. You probably don't give a bugger, Dor. But that Raiders Broncos game is a Friday 6 o'clock game, and it's not on Friday night or a Channel 9 Sunday afternoon game. And as you said before, the minor premiers, the most exciting team of 2025, is not going to be a part of Magic Round. I think that's crap. And but however, they're the last team to do it, well, at least for a year anyway, before things become odd numbers again. Because it becomes even number of teams. So are there any other? Well, there's another fixture here. So in round number 6, the Canberra Raiders, they're going over to Optus Stadium in Perth. So that's going to be their first trip to Perth in about about 30 years, I would imagine. So the Raiders, they're going to be playing in Perth for the first time in about 30 years, and they're going to be taking on the South Sydney Rabbitohs. So that is another special fixture for Raiders fans to look out for. And then they've got that home game against the Melbourne Storm, and that's another Friday 6 p.m. game, and that's round number 7. So a shortish turnaround there. They play Saturday in Perth, and then they got to take on the Melbourne Storm on Friday night footy at 6 o'clock. So that's going to be a short-ish, difficult turnaround there, Dor.
All right, Sam, the verdict. Well, the start is obviously not ideal, but survive the start, and the Raiders can romp it in. They can get some wins strung together for sure, and give the finals another decent crack. Pretty self-explanatory there, that they've just got a tough start, but if they can get past that, the rest of their draw is not too bad at all. So games played against the 2025 top 8 and bottom 9 teams. They versed the top 8 teams 11 times. They versed the top 4 5 times. They versed the bottom 9 teams 13 times. They versed the bottom 4 teams 6 times. They have 1 5-day turnaround. They have 7 6-day turnarounds and 15 7+ day turnarounds. This is a bit similar to the teams that we've done just recently. I think it was the Roosters I gave the same rating. I think this is a B-, this draw. B-, I think B- is the perfect point to put it at. I was going to say you could maybe C+ or B, but I think B- is where it's at. So it's not horrible, but it's not great. It's good. Like it's all right. The Raiders can do something with that. Like I said just before, get past that rough start, and Bob's your uncle. They can start to get some wins together against some formidable or against, some teams that didn't go the best. But like at the same time, it's 2025 form. We don't know what some of these teams are going to be like in 2026. Like Sam and I were thoroughly surprised by the Raiders getting the minor premiership. Who knows what the surprise packet or story could be for this season in 2026. So that is the draw. All right, let's get to the team lists. All right, my team list. I've got Mr. Weeks at the back. This is for round 1, by the way. Mr. Weeks at the back. I've got Tamale and Savage on the wings. I've got Tomoko and Sebastian Chris in the centers. I've got the Ethans, Ethan Strange and Ethan Sanders in the halves. I've got Josh Papali'i and Joe Tarpany as my props, with Tom Starling at hooker. I've got Hudson Young and Zach Hosking as the back row combination. Corey Horsburgh, Big Red at lock. I've got Owen Patty in jersey 14. I've got Simi Sasungi, Matty Nicholson, and Morgan Smithies to round out my bench. Look, I feel terrible, but unfortunately I could not find a spot for Mr. Mariota. But there is no doubt if he was named in round 1 that I would not be surprised because he is a very good quality player. So I have him in jersey 19. I've got Dane Laurie in jersey 18. And then I've just put Jaden Brayley there because I just don't know what's going to happen with him. So I just think, might as well get him in and around the squad, I guess, for getting a guy like him down to Canberra. So that is my team. The one point I will make is about one Mr. Kobe Black, Sam. Now, Mr. Kobe Black has unfortunately suffered a bit of nerve damage, Sam. So he's not out of round 1, but he could miss. Like, it's not confirmed that he's out of round 1 or the early rounds, but there is a chance he could miss the start of the season due to a nerve issue in his neck that he sustained at training not long after coming down to Canberra, probably in the first couple of weeks of training there. So it is a little bit of a concern. But I think regardless, even if he was fit, unless he was absolutely killing it, I think Ethan Sanders was always going to get the first crack because he's been in and around that Canberra system. And, Kobe Black had to come down and sort of learn the ways. So I think it was always going to be Sanders' jersey to start with, Sam. But what have you got for your team, my friend?
Pretty much exactly the same there, bro. We are exactly the same, one down to 13. Our changes come on the interchange bench and reserves. I can't leave out Adam Mariota. No way. This will be Josh Papali'i's final year. I'd be stunned if he went around in 2027. And the next man up is going to be Adam Mariota. Simi Sasangi, what an absolutely incredible campaign Simi Sasangi had, which then bled into the Pac Champs. Absolutely amazing a story, Sasangi. So therefore, I can't have Matty Nicholson in my team, unfortunately, but I've got Brayley and Laurie in my reserves, exactly like you do, mate.
Well, very simple, very easy. That is our teams for round one. Now we move on to the breakout player, and I think this is very, very self-explanatory. Ethan 1, or Mr. Ethan Sanders, is Ethan 2 probably. He's definitely behind Ethan Strange. He's the bee's knees down in Canberra 1, Ethan Strange.
Mate, can I just take the reins here and just simply say, of all the breakout players that we've spoken about, really, the one team, the one man that has the oyster truly in his hands, the world's his oyster, bro. He's just got to take the pill. He has the golden opportunity to become a first grader for life if he has a great year. There's no other option here. I mean, Kobe Black is floating around there, but Ethan Sanders, he's been patiently waiting for a couple of years now after coming down from Parramatta Eels, and he played a first grade game or two last year. Yes, one against the Dolphins, but another against the Sydney Roosters up at Allianz Stadium when Jamal Fogarty went down with injury, and the Raiders ran away with 2 points on that occasion. So Sanders does know what it's like to win in first grade with the Canberra Raiders while playing halfback. So there's been a lot of talk about it, and we're finally going to see it all in action when he dons the jersey against the Manly Seagulls at 4 Pines Park on a Saturday, mate. So Ethan Sanders, the world's your oyster, bro, and I hope you take that pearl and absolutely make it your own, mate. He has to be. He should be the breakout player for the Raiders for 2026.
Yeah, look, very. It's a very easy one, but at the same time, it's also probably the biggest one. This is the player that the Canberra Raiders do need to break out. They do need Ethan Sanders. He doesn't have to be Jamal Fogarty. He can be Ethan Sanders, but he needs to do his job and get the Raiders around the park, have a good kicking game, and, organize them because they've got so many talented players. All he needs to do is just do his job, and the rest will happen for him. It will all fall into place. So, look, there's obviously big shoes to fill with how Fogarty especially started the season, and obviously the whole campaign as a whole, coming off a minor premiership season. But there's obviously going to be a bit of fire in Canberra after obviously what happened in the final series. So we're looking at the stats of Ethan Sanders. So in his 2 games that he did play, Sam, for in the NRL, he averaged around 328 kick meters, which is really good. Converted around 75%, which isn't horrible. His tackle efficiency, look, halves in general aren't the best tacklers, so 85% is not the actual worst, and I'm sure this number is going to get a bit closer to that number there, like run the ball a bit more than he did. But look, that was only 2 games that he played in the NRL. So let's have a look at his New South Wales stats. So he scored 6 tries in 19 games, kicked 2 goals. Kick meters not as high as they were in first grade. I guess the opportunity was probably the kicking duties were probably shared in New South Wales Cup. So only at 152 meters, but when he did goal kick, he did make sure of it. He had 15 try assists, which is a pretty good number, nearly a try assist a game in 19 games, which is not too shabby at all, Sam. Tackle percentage, look, again, it's still high 80s. It's not too bad at all. And yeah, his run meters look a bit down for the Raiders compared to for both occasions in NRL and New South Wales Cup. So I'm sure he will be wanting to get his run meters up in first grade. But at the same time, he doesn't need to worry about that too much. The Raiders have so many good players. Just go out there and do your job, Ethan Sanders. Be Ethan Sanders. You don't need to be Jamal Fogarty. Just go out there. You've got star power all around. You've got quality outside backs. You've got gun forwards. It's just, it's a perfect platform for Big Eth to get some, to take that jersey and make it his own. Because look, there's obviously going to be pressure from Kobe Black if he does not start very well at all, considering that they've got two, yes, Sanders has actually had some first grade experience where Black hasn't, but that doesn't mean it's just, because of that, Sanders is going to play the first 4 months of the season. No, I think Ricky Stewart will be a lot better than what you were alluding to before, Sam, with Todd Payton. I think Ricky Stewart will definitely give Sanders a fair crack. But yeah, it's obviously a lot of pressure, because if he doesn't take it, well, then the other player that we could have potentially put here was Kobe Black. And, if he then gets an opportunity and takes it, well, far out, Sanders has waited, a year or two, or a year down in Canberra to, for a spot and for this opportunity. And then, Black to come down and just take it away would be heartbreaking. So there's a lot of pressure on the young man, but he doesn't need to stress too much. He'll get a fair crack. He's got a great team around him, a good coach. He just needs to go out there and be Ethan Sanders, Sam. So I've got nothing more to say about Ethan Sanders, but I do think we've finished our breakout player segment with the biggest player that actually needs to break out for their club for their success.
1000%, mate. 1000%.
All right, let's keep moving. The new jerseys. Oh, well, technically they're not really that new, are they, Sam? It's more just they are slightly new, but it is more the new jersey design the designer, should I say, with Under Armour. Yes. So you can see it sort of just here on the left-hand side of Papa's big, luscious locks. And you can also see it down here on Huddy Young's shorts as well. I'm not going to lie. I really like the away jersey, but I hate the Toyota forklifts. One, where it's positioned, and two, the color. Yep. But I wish that was like a blue or a green further down, not like over the top of the green stripe, if that makes sense. Oh, but I like that. I like that away kit. And the home kit, I don't know. It's still the same design. It's still got the Toyota forklifts just in a horrible position, but it's the lime green of the Green Machine. I don't hate the jersey at all. It's quite simple, quite effective. But if I'm to pick a jersey of the two, I prefer the away jersey. It's just I really dislike where that Toyota forklifts is, like the integration of the logo, the coloring, and then like, why do you need the background behind, like the white background behind it? Just like make the colors stick out and just move the sponsorship down a little bit. But I like the color scheme of the away jersey. Look, obviously tough shoes to fill after I said last podcast that the Warriors had the best jerseys. I do believe these are solid jerseys, but they're not, like, you know what I mean, the best jerseys in the NRL for season 2026. But they're good jerseys, Canberra, and I like that Under Armour are coming into rugby league with the Green Machine, and I'm excited to see how this partnership forms in years to come, Sam?
There's a little bit more white in the home jersey for the Canberra Raiders, especially around the collar. That is the newer thing. The Toyota Forklift sponsorship, it's down there for main sponsors on the jersey, isn't it, mate? You'd love to see it a different color or smaller or lower, what have you, man. But yeah, it's that needs to be worked on. But the Raiders home jersey is the Raiders home jersey. Basically, it's just a little bit more white than what has been in previous seasons. I don't know about the away jersey, bro. A lot of people think that it looks like a Bulldogs jersey. I can see that. I don't necessarily disagree with it. But I don't know what else you do with a Raiders.
Jersey?
A lot of people say that they're, taking themselves and thinking it's a Bulldogs jersey, mate. Honestly, that's what I've heard around the traps, mate. I've got sources. But I reckon maybe... no, I don't know what you do with a Raiders away kit, man, other than just make it white with a couple of strips of lime green, bro. Like, I imagine, like, maybe, like, from the year 2000 where they... had like the dark green and then like the black and yellow strip down the middle. Maybe you do something like that again. But it's a passable away jersey, but it's not my favorite for sure, man. But and suggestions as to what I would do for an away jersey. I don't know, maybe integrate black or something, but yeah, I don't know. Raiders home jersey is solid, as it always is, but the away jersey, I'd like to maybe see a different design sometime in the not too distant future.
Yeah, I'm just having a look. I'd go. I reckon if you want to be bold or out there, Sam, I reckon just go black and green, and a bit of white or something like that. I don't know exactly what sort of design, but I don't know. I don't know how people see the Bulldogs from that. Like, honestly, might need to go to Specsavers respectfully if you're seeing the Bulldogs from that jersey. Like, there's yellow, green. I don't see yellow and green on a bloody Bulldogs jersey. Yes, the blue color looks a bit similar, but honestly, like, no, I respectfully disagree wholeheartedly with that claim. And I like the away jersey. So keep going, Canberra. I think it is very nice. Keep it up. And Huddy Young's rocking it absolutely beautifully there. But let's keep moving. And it has come time for our predictions for the Canberra Raiders in season 2026. And I have them in the top 8. I have the Canberra Raiders making the top 8. I'll let Sam say his piece when it comes, but for me, I think that either one of Sanders or Black can do a job enough to get the Canberra Raiders to into the top 8. Their draw is favorable. Yes, a tough start, but they can get the wins and string them together afterwards. That 4-month period, yes, there is some tough opposition, but to not be leaving home for such a long period of time is absolutely huge for a team that traveled left, right, and center and probably touched every part of Australia and nearly the globe in season 2025. So, look, there is a lot of pressure here, and it's not just like if it was a forward. Let's just say Zach Hosking, right? Zach Hosking left the Raiders. This is nothing against Zach Hosking, by the way, but he is a great player, but he doesn't play in a position that can absolutely break the game or break your team. When I say that is your halfback is basically the guy that you rely on. He's the one who organizes, the one who does the kicking most of the time. And the person that you look to, okay, you're saying, yeah, where are we in defense or where are we attacking? Okay, we're going to hit the right-hand side of the field for a couple of tackles. We're going to go one under, and then we're going to shift it out. All that sort of stuff is all coming from the halfback. Yes, he's got, Strange there that's been with Fogarty and whatnot. But Strange, we all know how the best of Ethan Strange is when he's running the ball. He is absolutely lightning Ethan Strange, a deadly step. And we don't want Ethan Strange to go away from that. So there's going to be sole responsibility of organising the kicking and whatnot is all going to have to happen from either Ethan Sanders or Kobe Black. Now, because of all this, I'm not having a go at either of those men, but you would argue with Jamal Fogarty still there, that this team would probably be a top 4 team again in season 2026. For me, without Fogarty, I hope that I'm wrong, that they hit the ground running, either Sanders or Black, whatever happens there. But that's why I couldn't put them in the top 4. And to where Sam has them, I can understand, because there is the halfback is honestly like the most important position on the field. You know, the fullback can create a lot of stuff, but he needs the halfback to, give him the space and time. You see it perfectly with any of the good fullbacks, Tedesco, Walsh, and I can name plenty more. But they love that time and space and the quality service that they get from their halfback, Sam. So there is a lot of pressure on Ethan Sanders and Black, but I think that these young men can get the job done and get the Raiders into the top 8. Do I think that their premiership window is open or closed? I do believe it's still open for the Canberra Raiders. I still think that they can get it done, even if they finish outside the top 4. But look, if they got in the top 4, I wouldn't be surprised. But the reason they will get in the top 4, or the reason they will get in the top 8, is because of either Sanders or Black. They've actually stood up and they've been able to organize the team, get them around the park, execute, their sets and whatnot. And if they finish where Sam has them, it's because of none of them has really taken the step or really made that development into a first grade. And look, it's not the end of the world, but it's just that's what it is in that crucial position. I think that's why you can't underestimate the loss of Jamal Fogarty to the Canberra Raiders. So look, I've got them in the top 8. It's probably in the bottom half of the top 8, so 7 or 8th. But I do have them in the top 8. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes either way, because their side is so good that they should be in the top 8. It's just that there's a lot of pressure on 2 young men to try and get this team back to where they belong. And there's obviously going to be a lot of pressure with how that they finished last season in the finals to make sure that they hit the ground running in season 2026, Sam. So top 8 for me for the Raiders. Wish them all the best. Sam, over to you, my friend.
I love the Canberra Raiders. I was born there. If I'm allowed to use the phrase, they're my second favorite team. So it absolutely kills me that I feel like that they're just going to miss out. They're not going to be 13th or 12th. They're going to be higher than that. But I'm fearing myself. I'm thinking of all these different storylines. I'm thinking that has Josh Papali'i gone 1 year too long, like we have so often seen. Let's, case in point or example, Jonathan Thurston went a year too long. I'm looking at you, Dor, shaking your head. I know Josh Papali'i returned to State of Origin last year. I know he's too good of a player, but that still is lingering in the back of my mind. Hudson Young and Tom Starling had career seasons last year. Are they going to be able to back that up? Time will tell. We will find out. The biggest question heading into the Raiders season is obviously at the halfback spot. And I just personally haven't seen enough from Ethan Sanders, full stop. Haven't seen enough of him to be a good footy player or bad footy player. I'm just saying, haven't seen enough of him to really have a fair income opinion of him and whether or not he can help drag this team back into finals footy. The likes of a KO Weeks will be put under a little bit more pressure as well. He broke out big time in 2026, and now he's going to be more of a hunted more than a hunter kind of a style of player. There was also, and this is, I don't want to take anything away from their season, I really don't, but gee whiz, for a Raiders side that for all my years watching footy and growing up in the early 2000s and then 2010s, and to see that the Raiders fans always thought that they were hard done by, that we never get any of the referee calls, we never get any of the bounces of the ball. They got it in spades in 2025 for the first time. I feel like in my lifetime, in watching the Raiders with an adult mind, to remember these moments and games, that they finally had a season where all these bounces of the ball went their way until they ran into Reece Walsh in the final 15, 20 minutes of that qualifying final. Nail your smile down, please, Dor. Just don't. But I just feel like it was their year to ambush, and they did. They ambushed the competition with their young talent, and alongside a career season for Jamal Fogarty as well. And his kicking game is going to be sorely missed from this Canberra Raiders outfit. I don't know what Sanders really has in his kit bag, but it ain't going to be what Jamal Fogarty has got. And it helped them get out of bad situations more often than not. So they might have game breakers in Joey Tarpany and Hudson Young, but they still don't have an Iceman, do they? They don't have that field goal kicker in a Sanders or a Strange or a Weeks yet. Yes. And I really hope for Sanders, I hope for the Raiders fans, that Sanders is exactly that, if not Kobe Black, who has all the hype around him in the world. And the other thing too, Dor, is that, since the Cowboys, right, we've seen teams that go from low on the ladder and they explode into the top 8 with fantastic seasons. And then the year after, again, as I said before, they become the hunted. They don't stay the ambusher, or they don't remain the hunter. They become the hunted. And then we see what happened with the Warriors, and then we see the Newcastle Knights as well, sort of thing. And it would be an enormous fall from grace to go from minor premiers to missing out on the top 8 altogether. It is a massive call. But I look at the South Sydney Rabbitohs and their roster. I look at the Dolphins and their potential, and maybe I'm overestimating the Dolphins. I feel like, we've spoken about the Bulldogs and the Warriors and the Raiders in the final 4 episodes of these season previews. And, I look back to way back at the start of January when we were talking about the Dolphins and the Rabbitohs, and, was I overestimating those clubs? And thank you, Dor, for the graphic evidence right there. Because that's what I've also seen from the Raiders as well in my time growing up, and you have as well, Dor, especially in the 2010s, late 2000s, that they would be in one year and out the other. And it kills me to say it, man, but there's just I'm just worried. I'm in my own head about the Canberra Raiders this season, and there's these storylines that I've convinced myself of, or I've scared myself by, and I don't know. I just feel like if it's a Rabbitohs versus Raiders in a round 27 clash, and the winner is to get in, and I look at the South Sydney lineup, and then I look at the Raiders lineup, and I see Latrell Mitchell and Cody Walker and a Cameron Murray, and then Cody Walker and a Jamie Humphries, and then I look over and I see what the Raiders are dealing with. I feel like on that day, the Rabbitohs can pip him, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Raiders do make the 8, because Ricky Stewart, especially last year, has gotten off on proving people wrong, and he absolutely has the players to do it again. And I hope they do it again, because I really, really like the Canberra Raiders. I really hope that they can maintain the rage, man. But as I said, as Dor has said, this is the hardest top 8 to make in forever. This is going to be so hard. It's going to be an absolutely amazing season of footy. Every single game it is going to have something riding on it. You usually get to like the State of Origin period and a few weeks after the State of Origin period, and we all sit there and go, these games don't really mean anything. Not this year, bro. No. Every single every single game, every moment is going to matter. It is going to count towards who will and who won't be making the top 8. And again, I apologize, Raiders fans. I just don't see them making the top 8. I can't have them in my top 8, and it's a fall from grace. It's an awful fall from grace, but that's just what I got to go with. But I hope I'm wrong.
It's not just what you got to go with; it also is what history suggests as well. With what I just showed in that graphic when Sam was talking, 9 times since 2000 that the Raiders, after making the finals, have missed the year straight after that. So, look, at the end of the day, look, putting all this aside, the Canberra Raiders and everything like that, this whole, like you said, Sam, there's so many teams that are on the precipice of making the 8 that we've had to make some tough decisions about. And we've said when we've made those tough decisions, like you just did then, that we're not surprised if these teams make it. But at the end of the day, we're here, All Our Club and Wobble and Jaw Sports, we're here to give you guys our opinions, and we're here to give you our predictions and what we think. Look, we could be bloody wrong. The Raiders could, be minor premiers yet again. The Broncos could be wooden spooners. Like, we don't know. It's a whole new season that's coming our way in under a month, and I'm bloody excited. But at the same time, yeah, it's very daunting because you don't know what's going to happen. If we look back in previous years, one moment your team can be in the grand final, the next year then they're not. They have a shocking season, then Lord of behold, you bloody got a new coach the year after. So it honestly, anything can happen in this in the NRL competition, and especially in season 2026. I've definitely seen some of these teams that weren't near the 8 definitely come closer, and it's just a glaring omission, and it's just a bit of uncertainty that Sam and I are seeing with the Raiders, and it's just due to the halfback. It's unproven from Ethan Sanders or Kobe Black. Like, we're not saying they're awful or they're going to not succeed. It's just simply we just haven't seen them in NRL football for a substantial period of time.
100%.
Look, thank you so much, Raiders fans, for giving us the opportunity. A bit of a long one, but it was a bit of obviously a season with such high highs and then horrible couple of weeks there. But a season full of travel, a season full of, a lot of things that didn't go their way, but then a lot of things, like Sam said, that went their way. The Raiders, when in previous seasons they hadn't gone. And then for it all to end like that. But we're looking now, we're flipping that. We've left that behind. We're looking to season 2026, and we've got a new chapter blossoming at the Raiders. We've got, Kobe Black or Ethan Sanders, the story of a young man coming in to this football team. And I can just already see the headlines from journos and even myself potentially posting on my page of, Sanders or Black just taking the team by the scruff of their necks and getting this team into the finals or doing something successful. And it could honestly be one of the talking points of the season because of the inexperience and the lack of football that these guys have played at the first grade level to come in and spearhead this team. So look, thank you so much, Raiders fans. And also, this is the last one of this series. Thank you ever so much for all the support that you guys have given Sam and I throughout these 17 podcasts. Look, there could be another one coming, but that will be not sort of like this. This will be probably a bit of a Perth Bears, a bit of a preview podcast from Sam and I for 2027. But regardless, thank you so much. Thank you, Sam, for putting in the hours with me. You know how much we've put in for these podcasts. So I thank you so much for all your effort, especially with the train and trial stuff. It's made my life a lot easier with helping me get everything with the templates and everything all designed. So I thank you so much for that. But it's the support. It's the support from you guys the followers, the fans, the viewers, the watchers. You guys have been awesome with your support on Spotify and on YouTube throughout. And it's obviously only going to get better as, you know, the anticipation to the season starting is ever growing as every day goes past. You know, when we're recording this podcast, you know, we've seen the first trial teams that have come out for the first week from those Vegas teams. Like, anticipation is building, and people want to listen to people talk about their teams and what they think how their team's going to go in season 2026. So even if you're seeing this just before the season starts, thank you for your support. Otherwise, you know the go. I'll give you a second, one moment, Sam. Just make sure you subscribe and follow the All Out Club and Wobble and Jaw Sports on social media as well as YouTube. Look for All Out lovers and watchers. The NRL previews and whatnot are done. For you guys, that means it's serious time. We're now going to flip the script and really dive in to our fantasy content over the coming seasons. But we're also going to still dabble in the NRL previews and whatnot and team lists and try to give you guys as much coverage, whether it be NRL or fantasy or super coach or whatnot, throughout the whole season. I know I can't speak on, or I can speak on behalf of Cord, Mick, and Bence, but yeah, we're very excited for the upcoming season, and we're just as excited as you are. So bring it on, Sam. Final words, my friend.
Dor, I did not anticipate maybe 2 months ago to do many deep dives into every single club. I just wasn't anticipating to have such a detailed preseason, and there was a stage there where it was a little bit daunting. And I thank you so much for instilling belief in me and trusting me and wanting to work with me to build up my confidence. And because of you, I now feel I am well versed with every single club leading up into 2026, and I hope all the viewers and listeners out there are as well. I hope you're all absolutely locked and loaded. If you have listened to every single podcast, I can't detail to you how much that means to Dor and I. It really does mean a lot. And Dor, thank you so much again for just being me, mate, and talking footy with me and just instilling the belief in me that you trust me. And I hope I did a good job. I think I did do a good job.
You did a good job.
No, we were detailed, and yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed it. As far as the Wobble and Jaw Sports channel goes, the Ace High Tip Show will be returning 100%. And the next time that you probably see Dor and I together on stream will be for a live call. We will be back big time for those calls in 2026. And week one of the preseason is coming up, and we won't be doing anything that weekend, but I think that he and I, we're going to get stuck into it in week two. That's to be confirmed. But yes, Dor and I will also be back for live calls that will be dual streamed on both the All Out Club YouTube channel and the Wobble and Jaw Sports YouTube channel as well. So look forward to that, because I think he and I, while we're not the only ones that do it, I think he and I offer a very different viewpoint and a different take on the way that those watch-alongs go across YouTube. I think we're really good at it, and we're going to continue to evolve and be better at it in 2026 and moving on forward. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dor. And the footy's back, man. The footy's back.
The footy's back. We have footy every single weekend now till like October or something like that, something stupid. So yeah, can't wait, Sam. It's going to be good. And yeah, look, honestly, it's just NRL, but I think I've found the whole podcast and doing all the research and all that, really helpful for fantasy and whatnot as well, in regards to, you know, getting a bit of more information and understanding the depth and the different positions that, you know, need depth, or, you know, what players are probably going to break out because there's a lack of depth in that position, who's got a really good opportunity, and vice versa. So I've found it really, enjoyed it thoroughly, as you can probably tell, but at the same time, I've found it really, really really important, and it's going to help me a lot when it comes time to do all these team lists and whatnot. But yeah, we'll still be doing, fantasy stuff's going to start to ramp up, but we'll still be doing probably like TLT for the trials and whatnot, discussing of what happened over the weekend and whatnot. We'll try our best to keep you covered with everything, as we always do at All Out. So without further ado, thank you so much. We're calling it quits here. That is this series over and done. Stay tuned for the Perth Bears one. Will come out eventually. But thank you so much for your support, guys. Thanks. Bye.